There we go. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining me this morning. So I have a couple of questions for you guys before we begin. So how many of you have rather know that lavender can calm anxiety and can help you with nervousness? Which I probably should have taken some before I started this. Right. And so how many of you know that the practice of putting essential oils in your drinking water, which is recommended by many, that's a dangerous practice, that can cause adverse health reactions such as burning your esophagus or digestive issues? And how many of you know that sniffing rosemary can improve your memory? So wouldn't it be great if you had access to reliable information from someone who not only understood the therapeutic value of essential oils, but understood the science behind it? Today is your lucky day, because today we're going to go over what I believe are the 10 essential oils for your basic home care kit, but we're also going to touch upon how to use these oils safely and effectively. We're going to talk about basic safety of essential oils, and we're going to talk about quality assurance, how to choose the right essential oil for purchasing. And we're gonna really have a good time. And this is an interactive session, so if you want to chat, you can. But let's begin with answering the question: what is an essential oil? And basically, essential oils are the essence of the plant, or the fragrant part of the plants. These plants provide aromas naturally, and the answer is, we ask, why do they occur naturally? And the answer is because of bees. Well, that's kind of the short answer of it. But these fragrances occur naturally for two reasons. They attract insects for pollination, and they also repel insects to protect plants. So there's a reason that these fragrances exist. But yes, the essential oil is the essence of the plant, the fragrant part. So we take a look at the different steps that are involved in taking an essential oil for production of essential oils. And we look at all the steps when we look at all the steps that occur from the harvesting from the planting to the harvesting to the chemical reactions that occur that extract the oil from the plant, even the bottlings. We take into consideration all the steps that are involved. There's a lot of variation that occurs when the plant was planted, what time of the year, what time of the day it was harvested, whether or not the glassware was completely clean, even the types of bottles used, all of the variations that are involved. It's amazing that that companies have any batch-to-batch consistency in essential oils. And in turn, it is not surprising that there's a lot of variation between essential oils from company to company. So, all of these are critical components to all of these production processes are critical components to the quality of the essential oil. What really calls into the question the need for quality control tests. Now, the types of quality control tests that occur is going to be dependent on the company, and the company runs these quality control tests for two reasons. Number one, they have these self-imposed standards that they're trying to adhere to. Now, notice I say the word self-imposed. That is because there's no governing body that dictates essential oil quality in the United States or the world. So keep that in mind. Any quality control that's run, they're trying to adhere to standards that are set specifically by the companies. Number two, the more quality control tests that are run, the more information that you get, and so essential oil companies that are reputable will run a battery of tests, and will include organoleptic testing, which is really a fancy way of saying experts come in and observe the oil. They'll take a look at the color of the oil, whether or not it's consistent, whether or not it smells right. And this is a very subjective test, but it's a great preliminary test to perform before more complicated tests are performed. Reputable companies will also perform microbial tests to make sure that there's no bacteria or mold or fungi within the essential oil. All of these are constituents you don't want. They'll also perform heavy metal testing. They're looking for arsenic, lead, mercury. Again, constituents that you don't want in your essential oils. Reputable companies should perform pesticide testing, and that is key. That is absolutely key. Even more reputable companies that have the most sophisticated equipment will run fingerprint tests on the essential oils to determine the exact chemical constituents of that essential oil. And that's to make sure that everything that should be in that essential oil, everything that should be in that essential oil is in that essential oil. And anything that's not anything that's not in that essential oil is not in that essential oil. So if that makes sense, excuse me. Excuse me. So, what does this mean? This means not all essential oils are created equal. And that's the first take-home message that I want to leave you with. So the question is, how do we choose which essential oil brand to buy? How do we know what a reputable company is? Well, I've already spoken about the QC tests, and it's really up to the consumer to do their research and find out which QC tests that these companies run. But there's other clues to tell you whether or not you're getting a quality essential oil. Number one, has the essential oil been diluted in a carrier oil? Or are you paying for pure essential oil? And the way that you can tell is essential oils are volatile, which means that they evaporate at a very fast rate at room temperature. So if it's been diluted in a carrier oil, it's not going to evaporate as fast. So if you take a bit of the oil and put it on a piece of blotting paper or a tissue, it shouldn't leave a stain. If it leaves a stain, it's been diluted in a carrier oil. On the same lines of testing, if you put a drop of oil in a glass of water, if it's cloudy, it's been diluted in a carrier oil. So these are good little tests that you can do. Very simple. Take a look at the labels and do your research. Make sure that the essential oils are free of pesticides, herbicides, and heavy metals. As far as the organic label is concerned, that isn't necessary. It should say pesticide and herbicide free. Something else to keep in mind is the term aroma. And we know that aromas copied from essential oils do not provide the same therapeutic effect as the essential oil that it's trying to copy. And I'll give you an example. Carnation is quite an expensive essential oil, but it also provides specific therapeutic effects. We know that if you combine black pepper and ylang ylang essential oils together, It will provide you with, and if you do this in a specific ratio, if you do this, it will provide you with the aroma of carnation, but not the same therapeutic effect. So that's just something to keep in mind. And unscrupulous suppliers will sometimes do this, or unscrupulous essential oil manufacturers will sometimes do this if to kind of keep the cost down. So it's just something to keep in mind. The prices of the essential oils should vary. A bottle of lavender should not cost the same as a bottle of sandalwood. So again, if you're looking at a line of essential oils, excuse me, within a brand, one essential oil should not cost the same as the next. So the number one rule for choosing an essential oil is obtain your oils from a reputable supplier. So let's talk about the different methods of essential oil use. And there's numerous, between inhalation and whether or not it's on a tissue or just in your hands or on a pretty bracelet that I happen to sell. There's also massage oiling, steam inhalation, diffusion, whether you're putting it in a bath, skincare, yes, even ingestion. The number one rule for any method of essential oil use is that safety is paramount. We're going to talk about that in a second, but that is a golden rule. That's the number two take-home message for today, is that safety is paramount. And so I go back to my original point at the beginning of this presentation, the practice of adding essential oils to water. A number of people recommend this, both in person, on the internet. Do a quick search, you will see. People say it's absolutely safe. But I'm here to tell you that that is not a safe practice, because adding a few drops of essential oil, especially citrus essential oils, which is this often is practiced with, to water is unsafe. This can cause adverse health effects. And the reason for this is because oil and water don't mix. If you take essential oil and you place it in a glass of water, you end up with something very similar to the picture on the right, and just oil droplets within water. And what this translates to is, when you drink this, you're effectively taking the essential oil. It's the same effect as if you take the essential oil and drop it down your throat. You can burn your esophagus. You can do damage to your digestive tract. You can get all sorts of health problems from this. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. So this is an irresponsible way to perform aromatherapy. If you want a refreshing citrus drink, put a slice of lemon or orange in your water. It's much safer, gives you the same benefit. So as far as for topical applications, safety is paramount for this as well. It is important that you use a carrier oil to dilute your essential oils before you apply them to your skin. Now, carrier oil is a vegetable oil derived from a fatty portion of a plant, such as a nut or a seed. And there's tons of different ones. There's olive oil, jojoba, coconut, apricot. There are many. And what's nice about the carrier oils is that each gives its own therapeutic benefit. And I won't go into too much detail today about each specific one. But the other benefit of using a carrier oil is it will allow the essential oil to enter through your skin, which is your largest organ. It'll enter your skin in such a way that the essential oil won't evaporate for the benefit that you're looking to achieve. So in essence, it aids in carrying the essential oil through your skin. And so carrier oils are pretty important. And finally, I just want to talk a little bit about essential oil storage, and this plays into the safety of essential oil as well. So the process that where the oils break down over time is called oxidation. Now, oxidation occurs for every essential oil. It doesn't matter what brand it is. All essential oils, once opened, once it's exposed to the elements, will eventually go bad. You can lengthen the shelf life of your open essential oils by kind of keeping oxidation to a minimum. Now, oxidation is sped up by three things. Number one, oxygen, which totally makes sense, by UV light, and by heat. And so if you cap tightly after use to keep the oils from being exposed to air, and if you store it in amber glass bottles to keep it protected from UV light, and you store it in your refrigerator to keep it protected from heat, you will your essential oils will last longer. The issue with oxidation is that, and the reason this plays into safety, is that a lot of the adverse effects of skin sensitization that happens with essential oils happen with oxidation. And so, oxidation, it actually changes the composition of the essential oil. And so once that happens, you no longer get the therapeutic benefit of that oil anymore, and it can become more unsafe. So keeping oxidation to a minimum is key, not only to keep it's key to keep for the shelf life, to elongate your shelf life of these oils as long as possible. And you can keep them for months or years. It depends on the oil. Okay, so now the piece de resistance, and the reason that you've tuned in today, 10 oils for a basic home care kit. And these are my top 10. Everybody's got their own opinions, but these are my top 10. And so let's start with number one, and nobody should be surprised by this, but number one is lavender. And lavender's got a ton of wonderful properties that are associated with lavender. And so it is often used to fight insomnia, anxiety, depression, restlessness, stress, pain, and even infections. It can be used topically, and most people can tolerate lavender undiluted. So it's great. It hasn't been evaluated for pregnant or nursing women, but you have to be careful with lavender, because if you take certain medications, there can be it can amplify sedative effects. And so you've got to be careful for that. But one of the first published applications of essential oil in the 20th century was using lavender for burns. And it's a great first aid treatment for burns. There was a scientist in, I think, in the early 1900s. His name was Gattefoss, and he was performing work in his laboratory. He was a scientist, and he was performing work in his laboratory, and he received a burn, and he topically applied neat lavender or undiluted lavender onto the burn, and it healed it quite well. And so he wrote about that phenomenon rather than his own research. And it kind of became the rebirth of essential oils, of modern day essential oils as we know it today. It really sparked interest in the 20th century and now the 21st century. So again, great recipe for the treatment of burns. The second oil is peppermint. And again, no surprise, one of the most commonly used essential oils. Great for, again, it has a lot of wonderful properties, and it's able to treat a wide variety of ailments, anywhere between your respiratory ailments to stomach issues. Has also been used to stimulate the brain for memory issues, anxiety. Great. There's been some studies on chemo-induced nausea and alleviating that. It's recommended that you consult your doctor before use if you are pregnant or nursing, or you have children under 7 that's using it. So it's a little safety issue there. But I often combine lavender and peppermint into a headache relief blend, and this works great. And you notice I'm doing this in carrier oil. You can make a 10 milliliter roller bottle. These are available. I get mine from Amazon, but here's the recipe. You can make a roller bottle and just rub it into your temples. Just massage it around your temples and along the base of your skull, along the hairline. Okay, so number 3 is tea tree. Tea tree is often used for skin ailments, skin issues, such as athlete's foot. You'll notice that a lot of foot scrubs and a lot of products will contain tea tree. Also used for candida, sunburn, acne. I know it's used in a lot of shampoos for dry scalp. The biggest safety issue with tea tree is that this should not be ingested under any circumstances. It should not be swallowed. I had a gentleman ask me if it should be used for dental work. There are some mouthwashes that have tea tree as one of the components in them. And my answer to that was, well, as long as you're not swallowing it, it's okay, but I wouldn't take the chance. There are other natural remedies that don't include tea tree that I think are a bit safer. Number 4 is lemon. And lemon is terrific. Lemon's often used in cleaning products, natural cleaning products. But it's used in headaches, asthma, high blood pressure, great anti-inflammatory properties, great for detoxification. The biggest issue with lemon is that if you apply it to your skin without diluting it, and then you go out in the sun, you will most likely burn. It is called photosensitivity. And that is why it's very important to avoid exposure to UV rays after you apply it topically to your skin. It can also, if you use it undiluted, it may result in skin sensitization, which is kind of a term that they use for you can develop an allergy to it. So very, very great oil, though, used in a lot of products, such as an athlete's foot remedy. And this one incorporates the tea tree oil that I spoke about. And then it's kind of a 2-part process where you're adding it to your feet, and then a combination of tea tree and lemon and a carrier oil as a massage component. Great for getting rid of athlete's foot. Okay. Number 5 is Roman chamomile, and this is one of my favorites. This is one that is theoretically safe to apply to your skin undiluted. Great anti-inflammatory properties. Wonderful in just a ton of different ailments. But it's got great anti-inflammatory properties, but it may be harmful to pregnant women. We're not sure. So always consult a doctor. But it is one of the components in my insomnia remedy. And this is one of the first recipes that I developed when I started playing with oils. I was having a lot of trouble falling asleep. And lavender just wasn't cutting it. And so I added I do a 50-50 blend of Roman chamomile and lavender in my diffuser. And I'm out like a light and I'm sleeping well. So again, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, this is a great, great remedy. If somebody asked me, why don't you just use Roman chamomile? There's 2 reasons. I think that they work synergistically with each other. It's very possible. I don't think there's been a ton of studies on it, but I think combined, they work well together. And the second reason is I'm not really crazy about how Roman chamomile smells. But that's just, again, personal preference. But through trial and error, I found out that this works great for me. And so this is a great and easy blend that you can do in the diffuser. Number 6 is geranium. Geranium is used in a lot of skincare products, but it is also used for hormonal issues, especially for menstruation, menopause symptoms. Again, a lot of anti-inflammatory properties that are associated with geranium. There are known drug interactions, and these are mostly with diabetic medications. So that's something that you're going to want to keep in mind. If you are on diabetic medications, then that is something that you need to consult your doctor about. But it's great, like I said, in skincare and beauty products. Here is a recipe that you can easily do. All you need is a little bit of aloe vera gel as a carrier, and you just put a 50-50 blend of Roman chamomile and geranium, and you can make your own lip balm. So again, great in skincare products. Number 7 is eucalyptus, and eucalyptus is, now we're talking about the types of essential oils that you're going to use for cold and flu remedies. Very versatile oil for respiratory problems, allergies. It's also used in wound treatments, and it is a natural insect repellent. So you'll see a lot of natural recipes for insect repellents and insecticides that contain eucalyptus in it. This could be harmful to children that are less than 10 years old. It is safe to use for children if you follow specific guidelines for it. But if you're uncomfortable using eucalyptus for your child, and a good substitute for eucalyptus is cedarwood. So something to keep in mind. But there are specific guidelines where you can use eucalyptus safely for children. And number 8 is thyme. And thyme has been used extensively in chronic fatigue syndrome, treatment. It is a great for circulation problems, and unfortunately this slide is cut off, but there's no drug interactions with blood clotting drugs, and so yeah, again, it does enhance circulation. Great if you have low blood pressure. It is an anti-anxiety. It has anti-anxiety components, so it is used for nervousness and anxiety. But also, it is often used in respiratory recipes for blends that deal with respiratory issues. One of the things that's been studied recently, or more recently, is the use of thyme for balancing hormones. And so there are scientific papers that have been published for this. But we'll talk about one of the recipes that I have for cough. And really simply, you're taking 3 drops of eucalyptus, 2 drops of thyme, combining them in some carrier oil, makes a great massage oil for your chest and your back, and can alleviate that really dry, unproductive cough that you sometimes get when you get sick. Number 9 is rosemary, and rosemary, again, another one that's great for coughs and respiratory issues. And we talked about this at the beginning of the presentation. It has been used, it has been studied scientifically and clinically for learning and memory issues, which is going to be really important, not just for school-age children, but for patients with dementia. So here's the research that I wanted to talk about, where it showed that sniffing rosemary can improve memory. These studies were performed in England, and were not only published but were presented at the conference, the annual conference of the British Psychological Society, which showed that sniffing rosemary can enhance memory up to 75%. And so again, this is great research that was performed, and that can really make a huge difference in Alzheimer's patients and dementia patients, and even for school-age children. I've had a number of clients come up to me and tell me that it has worked for their high school-age children before tests. So yeah, a really, really cool application for rosemary. And finally, number 10 is clove bud. Again, it's a great, this is not a beginner's oil. This should be used, if used topically, it has to be diluted down a lot or else it can burn your skin, but has great properties to fight acne, to deal with muscle pain, dental pain, sinus pain, and is often used in recipes that deal with respiratory issues, such as this steam distillation recipe that I'm presenting to you now. And so this is pretty cool. I don't know, but when I was a kid, my mom made, whenever I got a cough and a cold, we used to put Vicks in a hot bowl of water and put a towel over your head and breathe in the vapors. This is exactly the same thing, except you're doing it with essential oils. And here we're combining thyme, tea tree, lavender, and clove in a bowl of hot water and tenting it over your head. You got to close your eyes because it will definitely irritate your eyes, but you breathe it in, and it will clear up your congestion and make you feel tons better. So yeah, steam distillation and clove is an important component of that recipe. So let's talk about what we learned today. So the number one take-home message was all essential oils are not created equal. We talked about the QC tests. We talked about how to choose an essential oil for purchase. Number two, safety is paramount. Doesn't matter what the application method is, whether or not it's inhalation, or if it's ingestion, or if it's diffusion, or even in the bath. You must practice safe essential oils, safe aromatherapy. The third is, I shared with you what I believe are the 10 most versatile essential oils for your home healthcare kit. And with these 10, you can replace a lot of the over-the-counter medication that you have in your medicine cabinet. There's no doubt. And so you've learned a lot, and I hope you enjoyed it, because there's more. There's always more. But I am offering a Foundations of Aromatherapy online workshop. There is, and I just clicked on the chat, and I've noticed that there's some questions that I need to get to, and I'll get to that at the end. But I'm offering a Foundations of Aromatherapy workshop. There was a sticky message, but I can share with you the link if you're interested in purchasing. It's a 3-part course where you have, where I take the first part is going to be on April 18th at 8:30. And I will be taking a deeper dive into the basics of essential oil. So in other words, the safety, quality assurance, why they work. We'll go into the olfactory system, the limbic system, and some of the chemical constituents that essential oils have within them. And so all these are important to lay the groundwork for the foundation of essential oils. And then part 2, I'm going to be sharing with you applications of the 15 most popular essential oils. And so what you're going to see is in those 2 parts is an extended version of what I've shared with you today. More recipes. There's going to be a reference chart, so it's going to be really, really easy for you to refer to back. There's going to be a workbook so you can follow along as you write. And it's going to be live evening webinar courses that are recorded and available for replay. If you sign up, we are knocking $50 off the list. It's normally $197, but until I believe Monday, it is at $147. So you're saving $50, which is less than the price of a direct marketing essential oil kit. And it's education, and it will provide you with a lifetime of knowledge that you can use. And plus you'll get information from me. And I tell you, I will help you make aromatherapy make sense. See, that sense, get it? Okay, so, and so really I leave you today with this. Aromatherapy, and this is by a scientist that I know that has inspired me to really delve into the science of essential oils, and that's Robert Tisserand. And aromatherapy is a caring, hands-on therapy which seeks to induce relaxation, to increase energy, and to reduce the effects of stress, and to restore lost balance to mind, body, and soul. And I think that pretty much really sums up why I got involved in essential oils. 7 years ago, I had several life-changing events that really caused me to evaluate my wellness journey. And essential oils can provide remedies, but a piece of a remedy, but an important part of it, to better wellness. And I really hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I thank you so much for tuning in today. And I am going to go ahead and answer, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and reply to your questions in private. And again, I thank you very much for tuning in this morning. If you have any questions, any other questions, please feel free to contact me at the at my email address. And yeah.